Welcome back to EtherLink AI Insights. I'm Alex, and today we're diving into something that's reshaping how enterprises operate across Europe: Agentic AI and multi-agent orchestration. And we're doing this through a very specific lens: what it looks like to deploy these systems in Amsterdam and across the EU, where regulation actually drives innovation. Sam, thanks for joining me.
Great to be here, Alex. This is a really timely conversation because we're at this inflection point where single chatbots just don't cut it anymore. Organizations want autonomous systems that can reason, plan, and actually execute workflows without human intervention at every step. But in Europe, that comes with strings attached. The EU AI Act, GDPR, all of it.
Right. And that's fascinating to me because most of the conversation around Agentic AI happens in Silicon Valley without mentioning compliance at all. But here's the stat that caught my attention. 73% of enterprises now prioritize Agentic AI over generic chatbots. That's a massive shift. Why do you think that's happening?
It's simple ROI. A traditional chatbot answers questions. An agentic system can retrieve patient records, cross-check drug interactions, escalate to a physician, and document everything, all in one workflow. You're automating entire business processes, not just front-end queries. McKinsey data shows multi-agent adoption in production jumped 156% year over year. That kind of growth doesn't happen unless there's real value.
So what separates a production-grade agentic system from, say, a proof of concept someone built over a weekend?
3 things, according to IBM's research. First, tool integration. Agents need to dynamically call APIs, databases, specialized services. Second, reasoning and planning. They decompose multi-step problems rather than just generating text. Third, state management. An agent needs to remember context across conversations and organizational workflows. Without those 3, you've got a chatbot with extra steps.
Let's talk about the European angle because you mentioned compliance driving innovation, and I want to unpack that. Why is Amsterdam specifically interesting for Agentic AI deployment?
Because regulatory maturity becomes competitive advantage here. Companies deploying agentic systems in Amsterdam have GDPR precedent, NIS2 frameworks, and now the AI Act. Microsoft's research shows that organizations building compliance into their architecture from day one reduce deployment friction by 40% and cut incident response time by 60%. That's not a cost, that's efficiency.
So governance first is actually faster than move fast and break things. That's counterintuitive for a lot of technologists.
Exactly. And Europe has the vendor ecosystem to support it. Hugging Face, Databricks, strong open-source communities, they all prioritize EU compliance by default. You're not retrofitting governance onto an American platform. It's baked in from the start.
Okay, so if I'm building an agentic system in Amsterdam, what does the actual architecture look like? Walk me through it.
You start with the control plane. Think of it as an air traffic controller for AI agents. It routes tasks, manages state, and enforces policies. This is non-negotiable in production. The control plane logs every decision, enforces timeouts, prevents hallucinations, and ensures agents stay within their authorized domain.
So the control plane is your safety layer and your audit trail rolled into one?
Yes, and above that, you orchestrate specialized agents. You don't want one big agent doing everything. Instead, you have retrieval agents that ground responses in actual data. Think RAG, vector databases, APIs. Planning agents that break goals into subtasks. Execution agents that do concrete things, create files, update databases, process payments. And crucially, compliance agents that validate outputs against regulatory constraints before they propagate anywhere.
A compliance agent checking the other agents? I like that, but that sounds complex. How do you actually build this without it becoming a maintenance nightmare?
There are frameworks that handle the heavy lifting. LangGraph is one. Anthropic's MCP, Model Context Protocol, is another. And open-source options like Crew AI are purpose-built for multi-agent orchestration. They give you the scaffolding for task routing, state management, and inter-agent communication without reinventing everything yourself.
Let's ground this in a real scenario. Walk me through how an agentic system would actually handle something complex.
Take healthcare. A patient case comes in. A retrieval agent pulls the patient's medical history, allergies, current medications from secure databases. A planning agent reads that context and breaks down the clinical decision into sub-steps. Check for drug interactions, consult treatment guidelines, evaluate patient risk factors. Execution agents handle each sub-step. Then a compliance agent ensures the recommendation meets medical regulations and data protection rules. If anything is uncertain or high risk, an escalation agent routes it to a human physician.
So the system is autonomous, but with explicit checkpoints where humans can intervene.
Exactly. And that's what the EU AI Act actually requires: explainability and human oversight in high-risk systems. Instead of fighting the regulation, smart organizations are building it into their architecture. It makes the system more trustworthy and more resilient.
You mentioned escalation agents. How do you decide when something needs human review versus when the agent can handle it autonomously?
You set thresholds, high-value decisions, novel scenarios, outputs that disagree with existing data. Those all trigger escalation. The control plane makes that call based on policies you define. It's not about second-guessing the agent on everything. It's about being surgical. Escalate when uncertainty is high or stakes are elevated.
That requires understanding your own risk tolerance really well.
It does, and that's where working with organizations that understand both technology and regulation is valuable. You need to map your business processes, identify which decisions can be autonomous and which need oversight, and build thresholds accordingly.
Let's talk about the practical side. If I'm a CTO in Amsterdam right now and I want to move toward agentic systems, what's the first step?
Start with a pilot. Pick a workflow that's repetitive, has clear success metrics, and isn't critical infrastructure. Build it with the frameworks I mentioned: LangGraph, MCP, Crew AI. Deploy it with a control plane and compliance validation. Learn, measure, then scale.
And during that pilot, you're establishing your governance model at the same time.
Exactly. You're documenting agent capabilities, defining escalation thresholds, setting up audit logging. By the time you scale to production, your governance is battle-tested, not theoretical.
What about costs? Multi-agent orchestration sounds resource-intensive.
It depends on implementation. Open-source frameworks are free. Cloud infrastructure scales with usage. The real cost is in orchestration complexity and compliance infrastructure. But consider the alternative: hiring specialized teams to do what these agents do. The ROI becomes clear pretty quickly.
So we're talking about replacing or augmenting human capacity at scale.
Right. Not replacing, augmenting. The best implementations I've seen involve humans and agents in a loop. Humans set strategy and handle exceptions. Agents execute repeatable high-volume tasks with oversight built in.
Before we wrap up, what's the biggest mistake you see organizations making when they try to implement agentic systems?
Trying to make agents too autonomous too fast. They skip the control plane, they don't define escalation policies, they ignore compliance from day one. Then when something breaks, it breaks spectacularly. The organizations that succeed are the ones that balance autonomy with accountability.
That's the key insight. Agentic doesn't mean unsupervised.
Not at all. It means intelligent delegation with guardrails.
Sam, thanks for walking through this. For everyone listening, this is a deep topic, and there's a lot more nuance in the full article. You can find the complete guide on EtherLink AI. It covers the technical architecture, real-world implementations, and specific governance models for deploying multi-agent systems across Europe. Thanks for tuning in to EtherLink AI Insights. We'll be back soon with more.
Thanks, Alex. Great conversation.